Peace, family. So I want to pick up on the series that I started dealing with all of the sun signs in astrology, and I want to go one by one, all the way from Aries to Pisces. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the astrological sign of Gemini. Gemini is the third sign of the zodiac. The element is air. We got four elements: fire, earth, air, and water. So Gemini being an air sign, this basically means it's a communicative sign. Geminis relate to other people through communication, whether that's talking, writing. Social media is big for people who are air signs, like Aquarius, Libras, and Geminis. Those are the three air signs, and I think they get the most out of social media, in my opinion. Um, the quality of the sign of Gemini is mutable, which basically means it's an adaptable sign, very flexible, very versatile. And when you meet these people, usually they have a variety of different interests. It's rarely will you meet a Gemini who's only into one thing. You know what I mean? Like usually they're multi-talented, have a lot of different hobbies that they're into. Now, the problem with this is they can have a hard time making up their mind. Um, Geminis can be very scatterbrained, you know what I mean? Like they put their energy into too many different places without cultivating enough mental discipline to master what's in front of them, the main thing that they're working on. And so until a Gemini gets that concept, usually it's like later on in their life, they can have a hard time with things like their career, even in something like education. A lot of Geminis might sign up for college and then change their major again, and then decide they want to do something totally different than the first two things that they originally thought they wanted to do. Um, Also in love life and relationships, because Geminis can be very flirtatious, even in a relationship. Now, this is not to say that they don't really love the person that they with, but this sign, the people of the sign love variety. They like a lot of different things. You know what I mean? Different things appeal to Gemini, and so they can have some trouble in that area too until well, it depends also on the kind of partner that they're with, because the more emotional and signs that latch on to people might have a harder time being with a Gemini. Like the more emotional signs, the more possessive signs, like let's say Scorpio or Taurus, for example. Even maybe even Leos can be very territorial, and so I would definitely recommend you knowing what you're doing if you want to get involved with a Gemini, because they don't like to be tied down. They like to have their freedom. They like to be able to mingle and talk to the people. They like to go out to the clubs, and not only like nightclub or something like that, or a bar or something like that. They're into anything that they can have interaction with multiple people, meeting different kinds of people, conversating with different people. These are things that Geminis love to do, and if you try to take that away from them, then that can pose a serious problem in a relationship. If you're trying to be with somebody of this energy. Um, Geminis are also very funny. They a lot of the funniest people that I know are Geminis. Got a lot of Geminis in my family, And for the most part, Gemini's is they real cool, laid back people. Not in a mellow, chill kind of way, but just easy going. Kind of easy to get along with. Um, they Gemini's like to talk a lot. I only know like maybe three Geminis who don't talk borderline. I want to say borderline too much sometimes. You know, not that it's a bad thing because I like good conversation, but the conversation got to be about something. You know what I mean? A lot of times when it's a lot of just chatter going on, then it can turn into gossip. It can turn into talking about other people. And so that's something that Gemini's got to watch out for too is gossip. A lot of Gemini's get in trouble with gossiping. Um, but again, it's nothing wrong with some good conversation. Most people just like to talk anyway. You know what I mean? And as long as it's harmless, it's nothing wrong with it. Um, but Geminis are very sharp, very mentally sharp, very intelligent. They have a lot of potential, a lot of mental capacity, very very educated, even if they're not book smart, because they pay attention to everything. Ever since being a small child, if you watch Gemini's closely, they're very observant. They're watching what's going around, and they pick up things real quick. They learn very fast, um, but they have to learn the art of mastery, mastering one thing at a time. It's a saying that um, Geminis are a jack of all trades, but the master of none. In other words, they know a whole lot about. No, I'm saying that wrong. They know a little bit about almost everything, but not a whole lot about any one particular thing. And I know it's always some exceptions to the rule, of course, because it's more things to look at in the birth chart. You have different planets that represent different parts of your personality. So you might have a Gemini who has a Mercury in Taurus. Mercury is the planet of your mind, how you think, how you learn. And Taurus is a more stable energy, um, more disciplined. So if you're a Gemini and you got Mercury and Taurus, then some of these things won't apply to you. You probably have learned to discipline your mind, but that's one of the keys. Geminis have, I want to say, the most potential if they just discipline their mind as far as learning goes. Sagittarius too, um, and of course there's a few other signs, but I'm just speaking on this on the air signs, mainly just Gemini for this video. Um, Now negatively, I think Geminis have to learn how to be still sometime. A lot of nervous energy. In astrology, Gemini rules the nervous system. It also rules the arms, and the lungs as well. Um, but if you spend a lot of time with Geminis, you'll see them always like either moving their leg or moving their hands, pacing back and forth. You know what I mean? It can get kind of irritating sometimes if you're not used to being around them. Once you get used to being around um, Gemini's, then you kind of get used to it. That's just how they are. But they have to learn how to calm down, relax. Maybe find some certain kind of herbs to keep your nervous system in check. You know what I mean? Smoking is definitely something that Gemini's, they're susceptible to lung issues, any kind of irritation. They're very sensitive to irritation of the lungs, and so it's not, it's a real bad idea for really any um, anybody to smoke, of course, but definitely Geminis because they have that susceptibility to bronchial issues, different things of the lungs, pneumonia, bronchitis, and so on. Um, so I'm referring to my notes. I didn't want to leave nothing out. Now I'm gonna rewind a little bit. So in astrology, the planet that rules Gemini is Mercury. In ancient mythology, Mercury was the god or the deity that was responsible for being the messenger of the gods. And Mercury was very quick. He had wings on his feet. That's how fast Mercury was. Just to be able to go back and forth delivering the messages to the gods back and forth. Um, Also, he was kind of a trickster too. You know what I mean? Very deceptive. Um, and some Geminis can be liars, cheaters. Not all of them, but see, this is the thing. Being that they have such a great mind, basically brilliant mind, some of them realize that they can get away with certain things because they know exactly what to say to you. They know how to say it. They know when to say it. Um, and so some Gemini's gonna get into a lot of trouble with this. Just knowing that they can talk circles around you. Some of the people who like your salesmen, car salesmen, any kind of salesman, a lot of those are Geminis. They can sell you anything, sell you a dream. But yes, I think that a lot of them have been known to be liars, but all Geminis don't use that great gift that they have mentally to cheat and get over on people, but some of them do. Um, they can be argumentative as well, especially if you have Mars and Gemini. Since I've been studying astrology and comparing, my notes with different people who had the same planetary placements, people who have Mars and Gemini love to argue. Mars in astrology is the planet that deals with, your energy, basically the fight that's in you, um your capacity, for battle, also your passion and drive. But when you have that planet in Gemini, which is an air sign for one, and for two, it deals with um mental energy and vocal energy and speaking. So when you put those together, you have somebody who's ready to go to war with words. So they always got the comeback, always got to get the last word. You know what I mean? I know like a lot of famous people. I did the charts on a few, and the ones who had Mars and Gemini, those are even people I see on TV. Ready, for debates and into debates and different arguments have Mars and Gemini. So yeah, I think that Geminis can cultivate a little bit more mental discipline, um, and just overall honesty. Take care of your lungs and always sharpen your mind in any way you can. Read a lot of books. Like Tupac was a example of one of the greatest Geminis I ever examined personally. This is the Gemini in its best and purest form, operating on its highest frequency as far as the good things he was able to do. Um, Rapping, acting, poetry, movies, activists, and the list goes on and on with the things that he was able to do. And this is the energy of this sign. When you use your mind and you don't waste it. You know what I mean? And you have some discipline and you're not scatterbrained. Geminis, you have a lot of potential to do a lot of things. This is a very, good sign, a very good energy. If you have the sun in Gemini, this video is mainly for you. Also, if you have Gemini rising in your chart, which would be dependent upon the time you was born, or Mercury in Gemini, the planet of your mind, and or Mars in Gemini. Venus more so deals with your relationships with other people, how you relate, and your enjoyments, what you do for pleasure and stuff like that. But overall, if you have a lot of planets in Gemini or in the third house of your chart, it will look something like this. If you have Gemini in the third house, which will be right down here. So you would just go to like astro.com or something like that and put in your name, your date of birth, time of birth, and you will be able to get your whole birth chart. And you can begin to get to know more about yourself and study up on this, study up on yourself. Knowledge yourself, you know what I mean? Get to know who you are. We always looking on the outside for everything. We look on the outside for God. We look on the outside for inspiration. But our thoughts, our dreams, our feelings, our emotions, everything else is taking place on the inside of us. So why are we always searching on the outside for everything? We have to start knowing what's going on the inside of us, what these energies are, what they do. All right, so that was my take on Gemini, and I'll be back next time with Cancer. Peace.